I feel it's my duty and responsibility as a now homeless person, orchestrated as such by Livingston County, New York, to warn other people about Livingston County, New York, and provide as much information as I can based on my own experiences in life. So, I was reading through some cases last night because, it's good to try to understand the world that we currently live in, all right? And I came across a name that, just another one of them women, I'll tell you. Those women in Livingston County, they got something lodged in their heads, okay, that just ain't right. Wendy Sisson, Sisson, Wendy S. Sisson, okay? The number of cases that went forth for appeal with the appellate in Rochester, New York, that were, the appellate wouldn't even look at these cases because her name's on it, so everything leaned in her favor for some unknown reason, which now I'm starting to make connections, adding up things, and, I think it goes back to those blueprints, Cash for Kids, and which nobody will look into this stuff in New York. They broke open the shit in Pennsylvania, but they really, really need to look at the human trafficking that goes on in New York. And I'd love it if they would start with Livingston County. But Wendy Sisson, she is notorious and famous for separating children and from their biological parents, terminating parental rights, entering kids into the system. Um, Although it doesn't specify, here's my big problem with the information in the database with See Through New York, which is it's a holding spot for all the employees in the state of New York. So government employees, you can look up their salaries and shit. They have all these people pretty much listed as general employees, and that's not the case. And why they don't have their true job description where they're walking, talking, acting out these positions and getting paid for it, why they don't have those titles in that database is beyond me. So Wendy Sisson was the county prosecutor for juvenile delinquent cases in Livingston County. And you can look her up. The best way to do it is just plug in her last name, comma, her first name, and leave her middle initial off. Take out all the different locations, so where it says, if you're looking for judicial people or you're looking for, teachers, and, just take all that shit right out of your filter and make sure you select all of the years that are available. And it only goes back to 2008, which is kind of sad, okay? So from 2009 to 2019, she had her run, okay, as an employee of Livingston County. Now, while she was employed, receiving a paycheck from Livingston County, she was also picking up contract work with other counties like Wyoming County and a few other counties, signing off, they were retaining her as an attorney for their counties, okay? She was getting, the courts were assigning her as the law guardian for these children for the cases involving children, okay? And on top of that, she's also running her own private practice as a licensed state attorney, okay? The whole thing, if you look at it holistically, the big red flag is conflict of interest. You can't be an attorney and be employed by the county that you're also prosecuting the people that are coming in through the door. Okay? So either you're employed by the county and that's your sole primary focus and the only avenue where you gain your personal income and revenue, or you sit on the sidelines and you represent individuals and businesses that are not part of the county umbrella, okay? You can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't be representing the county that has their own little hidden agenda to destroy people and destroy people's livelihoods and their lives, because that's what all counties do. They're not out for the betterment of the people that are residing in those areas. They're looking for ways to destroy your life. That's what they do, okay? I mean, if you can point me in the direction of any county in the United States that does not operate like that, and you can show me a solid history where none of that shit ever took place, I might think differently. But so she's getting paid by the county, okay? She's also taking on work from individuals. Somebody walks into her office, contacts her by the phone, and says, I need an attorney to represent me in a private matter, okay? It's a conflict of interest. And my biggest problem with all this stuff is the nut jobs. Like the appellate division in Rochester, they are total fucking nuts. In all their decisions, they never look at things like, okay, we're getting, like 100 cases that come in every month, and they're all, they're people from Livingston County appealing decisions being made in Livingston County. Do you think we should make a recommendation to see what the fuck's going on there? They don't do stuff like that. It's so bogus. Like their whole purpose for being there is not a valid purpose, and just it's like a waste. Like, don't even think going to the appellate division is ever going to change anything, because they're going to shut you down at the doors. You didn't lick the stamp the right way. You didn't, smile at them the right way. They don't give two fucks about upholding the law, okay? Don't even bother with those fucking appellate people in Rochester. They don't and plus they're so one-sided. They're only, if you read through any of their cases, they lean in favor of their favorite attorneys more than anything. They don't really give two shits about the law itself, okay? Now I'm going to tell you something based on knowledge, and that, it's almost like it slipped through the crevices of the United States, because a real judge that understands the law will say something like this at the beginning of every case before them. Even if it's not the first appearance, every time people step in front of them. Almost like a reminder. Looking right at, if it's the individuals without attorneys, eyes looking right at them. If it's the attorneys representing the individuals, eyes on the attorneys. And the first thing they should be saying is this: placing all matters involving fraud, waste, and abuse aside to be handled separately and distinctly on some other lines. Are you willing to move forward with this action today? And if they say yes, at any point after that acknowledgement that they have been fairly warned about carrying fraud, waste, and abuse into a courtroom at the expense of taxpayers, there is no statute of limitation on that. And that is what puts those attorneys on the hook to do the right thing. Because all attorneys they should be surveying their own work and saying, hold on for a second. This is even if it's not a direct conflict of interest, they still need to internally, using their moral compasses and ethics, say, I can't handle this case because it just, either it's too close to this other stuff that I'm working on, or I have my own feelings about what they're doing with this group of people. They have the right, and they should be exercising, it's part of their code and their conduct to maintain that status of being a licensed attorney, is they need to say every once in a while, I'm sorry, I can't handle this case. It's a conflict of interest. I know the other parties involved, or, I'm working on another case in another county that's similar to this. There's some type of non-compete type envelope that I can get myself into if I, move forward with this one. I'm employed by the county. You're an individual residing in the county. Your matter should be heard by somebody that's not employed by the county, because my best interest is the income coming into my pocket at this point. Stuff like that. They don't do that. And so, word of the wise from somebody who's already been through all that shit with those people. If you are coming up against any dealings with those Fruit Loops in Livingston County, because they will not step up on any moral or ethical lines and do what's right. First and foremost, they don't have that inside them to do that, okay? They just look at dollars and cents. And if they're getting paid to hang you up, they're gonna go for the pay. Not what's right, not what's wrong. Their moral compass is so screwed up, okay? The very first thing, you need to look at any possible conflicts of interest. Now, she's not showing any pay through See-Through New York beyond 2019, so she had her 10-year stretch destroying people's lives, okay? Without any true knowledge and background on what's really going on, her job through that 10-year tenure, if you will, was to separate children and put kids into the system. Take away the parental rights of biological parents so that they could take the children, separate them out, and move them through the system. That's what her overall scope was for that 10 years. Much like the other ones, okay? And it's like a power trip. So, word of the wise, check for any possible conflicts of interest first when you're dealing with those people in Livingston County or in any county, okay? Because they are supposed to immediately recognize that first for themselves and take action to separate themselves from those cases that involve those conflicts of interest. Second word of the wise is, if you ever come in front of a judge, like I did with Judge Wiggins and Cohen, they are like the worst judges ever. They have, in watching them, you can see they have this view on women in particular, and either you measure up to their fantasy of the perfect Livingston County woman. And unfortunately, I'm not from Livingston County, so I could never measure up, okay, with those people, regardless of what I do. But if you come across one of these judges, keep in mind, if they do not say at the beginning of any proceeding, whether it's a first appearance or not, if the case that is moving forward on this docket contains fraud, waste, and abuse, those matters will be set aside and handled separately for all parties involved. Because that's frivolous activity at the expense of taxpayers. Then those judges are not real judges. They're not looking out for the best interest of people as a whole. They have their hidden agendas. And when it comes to Wiggins and Cohen, like I tried to figure those people out. It was like, either they're on drugs, they have a problem with women, they don't think clearly. I mean, the decisions that they made, and even if you tried to argue your point, the number of objections that I filed with those people, and still. One of the cases that was really interesting is that came, and I'm pretty sure it was with one of the cases with Wendy Sisson from Livingston County, went up to the appellate on a temporary order. Trying to appeal a temporary order is a moot or moot, M-O-O-T, moot point. And that's because you can only appeal a final order. Well, in Livingston County, they keep stringing out temporary orders. So the possibility in a timely fashion for you to ever make a appeal based on a final decision, it's never going to happen, okay? Because they'll keep you in the realm of temporary orders. And with each objection, they just issue another temporary order. And there's never a final decision, never a final order on anything. And that's how they get away with just destroying your life. And there should be like a group of people that come through every once in a while and conduct audits on what's going on. But there isn't. And so we're just left in this limbo. What's the purpose of life when there is no life? Because they will not allow you to have a life type, the raising of those types of questions out there. So do your homework. Whenever confronted with an issue with Livingston County, because they're all related there, okay? It's like incest. First, do your homework. Look for any possible conflicts of interest. If you see those temporary orders come through, just, prepare for the worst, because they're going to keep you strung out for years on end. Their overall goal and objective is to destroy your life. And there's no higher authority that's going to step in. So just accept it. This whole bogus bullshit with the United States that we have these levels of law that prohibits, like the stepping down of the federal government into the state, and from the state they can step down into these local governments. It's all bullshit. There's no higher authority here. If there was ever a higher authority, they would have already stepped in. It's never happened in my lifetime. The likelihood that it will ever happen in any of your lifetimes is like slim to none, okay? Stay safe. Stay as close as you can on survival lines, because, we have no control over our destiny. It's all controlled by other people and how they view you and how well they are able to persuade other people into viewing you the same way. So good luck.